Chapter, Another Pilgrim.
Here it is. The Ob, the great Siberian river, is before me once again. I have made my way to this northern village, where regular transportation ends, and now stand on the banks of the Ob. To get to where I can proceed on foot across the taiga to Anastasia's glade, I have to hire a boat or launch. Near one of the many boats hauled onto shore, 3 men were disassembling their fishing tackle. I greeted them and said I was prepared to pay well for someone to take me to a certain place.
It's Igoric that does that here. Takes $500,000 for the trip.
I was immediately put on my guard by the information that someone here specifically transported people to a small Siberian village forgotten in the middle of the taiga. It was just 25 kilometers from there to Anastasia's glade. Also, he charged a very high price, which meant there were takers. Demand determines supply. However, there's no haggling in the north. How can I find this Igoric?
Somewhere in the village, probably by the store. Over there, those kids horsing around by his launch. Igoric's grandson, Vasyatka, is with them. He'll check. Go ask him.
I'd barely said hello when Vasyatka, a sharp kid of about 12, suddenly fired off this patter.
You need to go? To see Anastasia? I'm on it. Just a second, I'll get my granddad.
Without waiting for an answer, Vasyatka skipped off to the settlement. It was obvious to me that he didn't need an answer. Evidently, all the strangers in these parts had the same goal, in Vasyatka's opinion. I made myself comfortable on the riverbank and began to wait. Having nothing to do, I looked at the water and thought, from bank to bank here, it was probably a kilometer wide. In the middle of the taiga, a land unseen even from an airplane, water has been flowing gradually through the ages. What has it taken from the past without leaving a trace? What does the Ob water still remember? Maybe it remembers how Ermak, the conqueror of Siberia, pinned to the banks of the Ob by his foes, deflected their attack alone, sword in hand, but his blood seeped into the water from his mortal wound, and then the water carried his weakened body off somewhere. What had Ermak conquered? Might his actions have been something like modern-day racketeering? Today only the river could compare, probably. Might the forays by Chinggis Khan's host have been more significant for the river? In antiquity, his horde was considered great. In Novosibirsk province, there is a district center called Ordinskoye, from Orda, Russian for horde, where there is a settlement called Chinggis. Might the water recall how Chinggis Khan's horde retreated with their stolen loot? How they tied up a young Siberian girl, and the mighty vizier implored her with passionate speeches and besotted eyes to go with him without resistance, of her own free will. The girl said nothing and lowered her eyes. All the vizier's soldiers had already fled, but he kept talking to her, kept begging for her love. Then the vizier threw her and a sack of gold across the croup of his steed, leapt into the saddle, and made a dash for the bank of the Ob on his faithful horse, saving himself from pursuit. His pursuers caught up. The vizier threw them gold, and when his sack was empty, the vizier began ripping off his precious medals, awarded for conquering various countries, on the grass, at the feet of those who had chased him, but he would not let the girl go. Covered with foam, his steed had carried him to the dugouts on the bank of the Ob. Carefully, the vizier took the firmly bound girl from his steed and placed her in a boat. Then he jumped in after her. But while he was pushing the boat off from the bank, an arrow from the pursuit, which had just caught him, pierced him. The current bore the boat away. The vizier, shot through by the arrow, lay on the stern and did not even watch the 3 boats of rowers, drawing closer and closer with soldiers. He looked tenderly at the maiden, who sat there calmly, silently, and was himself silent. He didn't have the strength to say anything. The Siberian girl looked at him too, then glanced at his pursuers and barely smiled, either at them or something else, tore the ropes from her arms and threw them into the water. The young Siberian girl took up the oars, and the pursuit's dugouts could not catch up with her boat, where the wounded vizier lay. Where, into what times did the water's current carry them? And what now, in this instant, was the cloudy river water carrying away in its memory about us. Would the river think the big cities most important? Today, Novosibirsk, a huge city, stands on the Ob's banks, closer to its sources. Can you feel its size and grandeur, river? Of course, it is clear to me that you might say the river water, once life-giving, is so dirty that no one can drink it. But what are we supposed to do? Where can we dispose our factories' waste? After all, we're developing, not like our ancestors. We have lots of scientists now who live in the many academic towns around Novosibirsk. If we don't pour our sewage into you, we will choke ourselves. Even now, the stench has made it hard to breathe in the city. And in some districts, you can't tell what it is exactly that stinks. Try to understand all this, River. You know what kind of equipment we have now. Diesel ships glide over you now, not silent dugouts. My ship has moved over your waters as well. I wonder whether the river remembers me. Me on the ship, the largest passenger ship we had. The ship wasn't new, of course, and at full steam, all its diesel engines and propeller made such a racket, we could barely listen to music in the bar. What does the river consider most important and retain in its memory? Before, I would look at its banks from the high deck of my ship, from the windows of the aft bar, to the sounds of Malinin's songs and ballads.
On a fine white horse, I'd ride to town for the tavern mistress's smile fare. On the bridge, I caught the miller's scowl, and with the tavern's mistress spent the night.
At the time, the people going about their business on the banks had seemed trifling and insignificant. Now I was one of them. I also thought about how I was going to convince Anastasia not to prevent me from having contact with my son. Such a strange situation had come about. All my life I dreamed of a son. I'd imagined playing with him when he was little, then raise him. When my son grew up, he would be a good helper to me. We would be in business together. I have a son now, and though he's not near me, it's still nice to know that our being so close to me and so desired exists on this earth. Before my departure, I'd taken tremendous satisfaction in buying all kinds of unnecessary children's things for my baby. Buying is one thing. Whether I would be able to give them was still a question. If I'd had my son by an ordinary woman, whether from the country or the city, it didn't matter. Everything would be simple and clear. Almost any woman would like to know that the father of her child was concerned and trying to give the child everything he needed and to take part in his upbringing. If a man doesn't do this voluntarily, any woman sue for support. But Anastasia was a taiga hermit, and she had her own views on life, her own understanding of values. Even before my son's birth, she told me, he has no need of any material goods as you understand them. He will have everything from the very beginning. You will undoubtedly want to bring the baby some pointless rattle, but he absolutely doesn't need it. You need it for your self-satisfaction. How good and concerned I am. My goodness, he has no need of any material goods. But what can a parent give his newborn then, especially his father? It's still too soon to give the nursing infant a fatherly upbringing. How can I express my love toward him then? How can I express my concern? The mother nurses him, so it's easier for her. She's already involved. But what is the father supposed to do? In civilized conditions, he can help around the house and worry about the family's material well-being. But Anastasia doesn't need all that. She has nothing but her taiga glade. Her hearth takes care of itself and actually takes complete care of her. Therefore, it will also serve the baby when it sees he comes from her. I wonder what kind of money it would take to have something like that. Buying or leasing 5 hectares of land long-term isn't that hard now. But how and for what money can you buy the love and devotion of a wolf, bear, bugs, and eagle? Anastasia herself may not need any of our civilization's achievements. But why should the child suffer for his mother's worldview? The child doesn't even have normal toys. Here, too, she sees everything her own way. A child does not need pointless rattles. They harm him. They lead him away from the truth, she says. I think her statements are either utter superstition or at least have a definite kink. Did humanity really invent so many different toys for children for nothing? But so as not to argue with Anastasia, I didn't buy any rattles, but I did buy an erector set that had this written on the box: play for the development of children's intellect. And I bought the disposable diapers the whole world uses, and baby food too, which simply delighted me with its convenience of preparation. You open the box, and inside is a hermetically sealed, waterproof foil package. You cut open the packet with scissors, sprinkle the powder into warm water, stir, and it's all ready. There are different kinds of powder: buckwheat, rice, and other cereals. It also says on the box that it contains various vitamin supplements. I remember before, when my daughter Polina was still very little, I had to go to the community kitchen every day for her food, while here I'd bought a box, and you could feed my child without any problem. You didn't even have to cook it. Mix it in water, and that's it. I knew Anastasia did not boil water, and therefore before buying a lot, I bought one box. I tried mixing the powder in the box with room temperature water, and it dissolved. I tasted it, and it tasted fine, only bland because there was no salt, though for children it probably shouldn't have salt. I decided Anastasia wouldn't be able to find any arguments against this powder. It's absurd to refuse this kind of convenience. And she would have to have some respect for our technocratic world. It not only produces weapons, but thinks about children too. However, what worried me most from what Anastasia had said, primarily because it was incomprehensible, was the following. Anastasia had said that for me to have contact with my son, I had to achieve a certain purity of intentions and cleanse myself internally. Only I didn't know what specifically I was supposed to cleanse myself of. It would have been easier to understand if she had said I had to shave or stop smoking, and when I approached the child, wear clean clothes. But we spoke of consciousness and internal cleansing. Where do they sell the brush to cleanse something inside you? What was so very dirty inside me? I may not be better than others, but I'm no worse either. If every woman started presenting the man with demands like this, one big purgatory would have to be set up for humanity. This is illegal. I've brought Anastasia an excerpt from the Civil Code, which says that one parent does not have the right to deprive the other without grounds of the opportunity to see his own child, even if the parents are divorced. Of course, our laws mean little to Anastasia, but this is still a weighty argument. After all, most people follow the laws. I also could have spoken more sternly with Anastasia. She and I should have equal rights to the child. I'd had this idea of speaking more sternly with her before, too. But now I'd had second thoughts about my original decision. Here's why. In my backpack, along with everything else, were readers' letters. I didn't take them all because a great many letters come in. They wouldn't have all fit. In many letters, readers regard Anastasia with understanding. They call her a messiah, a taiga fairy, a goddess, and dedicate poems and songs to her. Some speak to her as if she were their closest friend. The stream of letters compelled me to make a great effort to make sense of my own actions and statements. I had to sit on the bank by Igorik's launch for 3 hours or so. Night was approaching when I saw 2 men coming toward me and Igorik's grandson with them. The first, elderly, looked to be about 60. He was wearing a canvas raincoat and rubber boots and had a flushed face. He'd obviously been drinking because he swayed slightly as he walked. The other, younger, about 30, was sturdily built. When they came closer, I saw streaks of gray in the younger Siberian's dark brown hair. The older man started to speak as soon as he got close.
Hey there, traveler. Want to see Anastasia? We'll take you. Get out 500,000 for carriage plus 2 bottles.
I already knew I wasn't the only one trying to get to Anastasia, which is why his fee was so high. For them, I was just another pilgrim going where Anastasia resided. But I still asked, Why do you think I need to see some Anastasia and not just go to the village?
Okay, the village, if you say so. Get out your 500 anyway. If you don't have 500, we won't take you to the village.
Igorik was not speaking very nicely to me. They take that much money for transport and aren't friendly. I thought, why is that? I had no choice but to agree, though. But instead of being happy about the money and, most importantly, the 2 bottles of vodka, which he sent his younger partner off for, Igorik treated me with even more hostility. He sat down on a rock next to me and muttered to himself.
The village? What village? 6 houses of people barely alive. The whole village. Nobody needs that village.
Do you take visitors to see Anastasia often? Is it a good business transporting them? I asked Igorik to get the conversation going and temper his hostility. But Igorik answered with irritation.
Who invited them? Uninvited dolts hauling themselves there. Nothing stops them. Did she invite them? Did she? No. She told one about her life. He wrote a book. Fine. Right. But why give away the place? We never did. He meets her once and writes about her whole life and gives away the place. Even the old women realized she'd have no peace if it were given away.
You mean you've read the book about Anastasia?
I don't read books. My partner Sasha likes to read books. But we won't take you to the village right away. Too far. The propeller on the launch is pretty weak. We'll go as far as the fishing shack and spend the night there. In the morning, Sasha will take you the rest of the way while I fish.
So be it. I agreed, and I thought, it's good that Igorik doesn't know that I'm the author of the book about Anastasia. Sasha, Igorik's buddy, brought the vodka. They stowed the fishing tackle in the boat, and then Igorik's grandson, Vasyatka, nearly scotched the trip. He started asking Igorik for money for a new radio.
I've already hauled a pole over the antenna and figured out how to put it up, and I have the wire for a new antenna. When you attach the antenna to the radio, you catch lots of different stations.
Chapter, Money for Tomfoolery?
See what a smart grandson I have.
Igorik boasted with a warmth in his voice.
Curious and skillful. Good job, Vasyatka. Someone needs to give him some money.
The hint was clear, and I started getting out my money. But Vasyatka, emboldened by the praise, continued.
I have to hear absolutely everything about the cosmonauts, ours and the Americans. When I grow up, I'm going to be a cosmonaut myself.
What's that, you said?
Igorik was suddenly on his guard.
When I grow up, I'm going to be a cosmonaut.
Well, you won't get any money from me for that kind of utter tomfoolery, Vasyatka.
It's not tomfoolery at all to be a cosmonaut. Everybody likes cosmonauts. They're heroes and they get shown on television. They are flying around the Earth all the time in big old spaceships. They talk to all kinds of scientists directly from space.
And what good comes of their yammering? They're flying there while there are fewer and fewer fish in the ob.
Cosmonauts tell all the people about the weather. They know in advance what the weather is going to be on the whole Earth tomorrow.
Vasyatka continued to defend science.
Big deal. You can go to Granny Marfa. Ask Granny Marfa and she'll tell you the weather for tomorrow, the day after tomorrow, and next year. And she won't take any money. What about your cosmonauts? Your cosmonauts are squandering Petka's money, your father's money.
The state gives the cosmonauts lots of money.
And where is this state of yours getting the money? Where the hell does the state get it? From Petka, your father. That's where the state gets the money. I caught fish, and Petka has sold it to the town. And he wanted to be a smart businessman. But the state says to him, pay taxes, give us all your money. We have lots of expenses. And in the Duma they keep yammering. Worse than women at a well. They thought it all up, made it all up, and they think they're geniuses. They have all kinds of conveniences there. They use nice clean toilets, smart ones. But the water in the river keeps getting dirtier. You're not getting any money, Vasyatka, until you air that tomfoolery from your head. I'm not going anywhere anymore. I'm not going to make money for tomfoolery.
It was probably the drink that made Igorik flare up so strongly that he nearly turned down the trip. Later, after he drank some vodka straight from the bottle Sasha had brought and lit a cigarette, he calmed down a little and we climbed into the launch. He never did give Vasyatka any money, and he was muttering something about tomfoolery under his breath the whole way. The launch's old motor rattled badly, making it hard to talk. We made our way in silence to an old fishing shack with just one small window. The first stars were appearing in the night sky. Igoric, who had finished off the bottle of vodka, started on the bank in the launch, muttered to his Sasha.
I'm off to sleep. Set up here by the fire or on the shack floor. Come dawn, take him to our spot.
Igoric had already bent over to enter the shack's tiny door, but he turned around and repeated sternly.
Ours, understood, Sasha?
Yes, understood.
Sasha replied calmly. When we were sitting by the fire and eating fish baked in the coals, I asked Sasha a question about what Igoric said that had put him on guard. Alexander, can you tell me what this spot of yours is where Igoric told you to take me?
Our spot is on the bank opposite the village, and from there you can get to Anastasia's glade.
Alexander answered me calmly. That's great. You accept all that money and don't take me where I need to go.
Yes, that's what we do. That's all we can do for Anastasia to make up for our guilt before her.
What guilt? And why did you admit this to me? How are you going to put me off at your spot now?
I'll moor the launch wherever you say. As for the money, I'll give you back my share.
And why are you doing this for me?
I recognized you. I recognized you immediately, Vladimir Megre. I read your book and saw your photo on the cover. I'll take you where you say. Only I have to tell you. You need to treat what I tell you calmly, reasonably. You shouldn't go into the taiga. You won't make it. Anastasia's gone. I think she went deep into the taiga, or somewhere else we don't know about. You won't make it now. You'll die yourself. Or hunters will shoot you. Hunters don't take kindly to outsiders on their lands. They deal with outsiders at a distance so as not to subject themselves to excess danger.
Outwardly, Alexander was speaking almost calmly. Only the stick he was using to stir the fire was shaking clumsily, and the sparks were shooting up like fireworks, disturbingly, into the night. Did something happen here? What? You recognize me, so tell me. What happened? Why did Anastasia leave?
I'd like to tell someone.
Alexander replied in a subdued voice.
To tell someone who could understand. I don't know where to start to make you understand, or make me understand.
Tell it simply the way it was.
Simply? It's true. It's all very simple. So simple it will shock you. Listen calmly, and if you can, don't interrupt.
I won't. Get to the point. Don't drag it out.
End of chapter. Join us for the next segment of The Dimension of Love, Book 3 of the Ringing Cedars series, Uninvited Guests.